Hey, what's up? Leroy from NoiseGate, back with another Machine Plus video. So in our last video, we took a look at sampling audio directly into Machine Plus, chopping up and making a beat from scratch. In this video, I wanted to look at how Machine Plus can become a comprehensive controller and sequencer for all of your hardware synths and drum machines. Native Instruments have made the setup process super duper easy by creating a series of MIDI mapping templates for many popular hardware synths and drum machines. This opens up a whole range of new possibilities by using Machine's creative workflow to create new and interesting ideas. So let's get into it. Okay, so I have Machine here, which is controlling and playing all three of these synthesizers. I have the Volca FM, the Minilog XD, and the JU06A from Roland. So all three are some of my very favorite synthesizers. How this is working is the MIDI output is connected to this MIDI splitter box, the Quadra through, because there's only one output from Machina Plus, and there's that MIDI signal is being split out three ways into each of my synthesizers, so that means I can assign them onto individual channels to control each of them individually. All right, so this is my Minilog XD on this pad here, and I can use the keyboard mode to play it back. Here I have the Volca FM. I can use the chord mode, which is lovely, and I have the JU06A on this pad here. It's playing that kind of wompy bassline sound. Now the audio from these two synthesizers is being fed back into the two available audio inputs on the back of Machine Plus, but there's only two audio inputs on Machine Plus, so the third audio output from the Minilog XD is being sent into this little mixer I have here, this little Soundcraft mixer, and the two available outputs from Machine is being sent into these two channels here as well. So that's kind of like the audio setup. So what I'll do is I'll show you how I kind of like set this all up as far as sending the MIDI from Machine into to control each synthesizer. So I'll mute this first group here, and I'll move over to group B, and we'll kind of rebuild that group. So I'll select this first sound slot. Now we need to define the MIDI output from Machina to each of these three synthesizers. So if I go to my macro level, this is kind of where you can define what goes in and what goes out of Machine Plus. If I head to the output, I need to send the MIDI from Machine Plus from the destination, which is the Machine Plus MIDI output, and we need to select the channel in which that MIDI is going to be sent out from. Now I've got the MIDI input channel on Volca FM set to input 7. Not sure why it's 7, but I just have. You can change it on your synth, so it's no big drama. Now we're still not hearing any sound yet because we need to route the audio from the synth back into Machine Plus. So if I select input, and select audio source. Now I've got the first available input, which is in 1L, so left. Cool, so now you can hear some audio. So I'm using the pads to send MIDI to play the notes from this instrument. Now there's actually some really amazing templates that have been set or defined for this instrument. If I go to Sounds, MIDI EXT, which stands for MIDI External, and I can browse via the categories here. So I've got Drums EXT, which is external drum machines, effects, external effects, pedals, whatnot, and instruments. So these are all pre-mappings for many popular synthesizers. And you can see here, there's actually some defined for particular manufacturers. So if I go Korg and select Volca FM, which is what this one is, there's now, if I hit the macro button, all of these parameters here will send CC control change messages every time I turn the knob to change the parameters on that synth. So you can see here, every time so this one here is transpose, which is this parameter here. It's transposed the note up and down octaves, and you can see it's reflected on the little display here. And when I enter keyboard mode, and we've got a whole other range of things as well. We can control the LFO and the pitch, and we can control the modulator, the decay, and the carrier as well from these synthesizers. So this gives you a lot of control over your synth, particularly something like the Volca FM, where it's quite a small little synthesizer, and the controls are quite small, which is part of the fun. But it's really nice to be able to control it straight from Maschine Plus. All right, so let's load up another one. So let's go straight to controlling the Minilogue XD. So next sound slot, I'll go to Browse. I'll find the mapping for the Minilogue XD. Now Maschine has this written as Monologue XD, which doesn't actually exist. It's a typo. It's meant to be Minilogue XD, but whatever. It's pretty funny. Load that up, and so you can see here, these are all the parameters for this synthesizer. We're not hearing any audio yet because we have to define the MIDI output to control this synth and then route the audio, all right? So I'll go output, MIDI is being sent from the Maschine Plus, and the channel is channel 3. I've got that set as channel 3. Now I can control all the parameters via the macros. So for instance, that's the filter, resonance, and if you wanted to change the actual sound preset, you would obviously just go to your synth and just change the program value. Same for any of your synthesizers. This is literally just sending MIDI to control them all, so you can create your own arrangements, etc. And now let's load up one for the JU06A. So let's go browser. This time we'll go to Roland, and there's a mapping for the MIDI JU06. There it is, right there. Output, MIDI Maschine Plus, and this is coming in on MIDI channel 1. Define the audio here. Let's go. Now I've got the audio from the JU06 coming in on the second input on Maschine. So that's one right R. So one in, one R. So that's the right input. There we go. Now if you have a synth and it needs a little bit of volume gain, you can adjust the gain here, so on the input level. And if you go to your mixer, you can see the input there is coming. Same with the Volca FM. You don't see it for the Minilogue XD because it's coming in on a separate input on the mixer over here. So there's a few reasons why I really like this setup. The first one is obviously just having Maschine Plus as your hub for controlling all of your synths. Given that there's 16 channels of MIDI on one MIDI cable, you could effectively have 16 synthesizers or drum machines being controlled on each sound slot in one group. So that's an enormous amount of control over many different synths. You just need to ensure you have the correct amount of MIDI outputs for a external MIDI splitter. And also you would need to have a mixer to make sure that you have enough available audio inputs to send all that audio to, because there's only 2 available on Maschine Plus. But having said that, if you own many synths, it's highly likely that you would have a mixer anyway. So that's really great. The second thing is being able to use the note and chords for playing back these sounds. And then there's a whole range of other things you can do. So if I go back to group A, unmuted, and this is the Volca FM, I'm actually able to make use of the internal effects that are used that that Machine Plus comes with. So on this instance, I have RAWM, which is a really beautiful kind of ambient reverb effect, which is placed on this sound slot, which allows me to kind of use that effect. So I can show you how that works on this channel over here. So all I need to do is on the Volca FM, select Native Instruments, Effects, RAWM, and now you can hear that sound is being routed through this reverb plugin. And you could kind of take advantage of all the effects that come part of Machine Plus, which is amazing. The second thing is being able to resample the audio from your synthesizer. So you may find that you come up with an idea, and rather than having to plug the synthesizer in every time and route the MIDI and draw up that patch, you might just want to take a snippet of that audio just so you can kind of reuse that. So if I go back to my original pattern, I'll solo this. I've already got a pattern created for this sound, which is this. Say I wanted to resample this audio. I can easily do that by going to an available sound slot, hitting sampling, select internal, and you can see the audio is coming in here. So I could just record that now. And if it's set, if the input source is set to internal, that means it will play back the audio and include the effects from the reverb. So hit start. Cool. Stop, obviously. And now there is the audio from, I've just captured that audio from that synthesizer. So I could kind of like create a whole range of new and interesting ideas just using the Machine workflow and capture all these different interesting audio ideas and just kind of lay them down in my track as I go. Another really great thing is being able to automate parameters on your synthesizer. So if I go back to Machine, back to this group here, unsolo it. Say I want to automate the cutoff filter on this, on the cutoff filter on the JU06A. So here's the parameters for it. It's currently not possible to do any automation on this hardware synth by itself, but using Machine Plus, we can totally do that. Hit the automation button. Here we go. You can see there's a little white dot there, and that indicates to you that there is some automation that has been applied to that parameter. So that's a really great sort of handy thing to do as well. Cool, so I hope this helps and shows you how powerful Machine Plus can be for controlling a lot of your synthesizers in your hardware setup. Thanks for watching the video. As always, bank some questions in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.